What happens when a Victorian-era gumshoe crashes a Christmas soiree hosted by undead rum-running pirates and automatons dressed like Al Capone's stunt doubles? If your answer is probably an EC Comics one-shot, you get partial credit. To earn full marks, you need Infogrames Alone in the Dark 2, the 1993 sequel. North American boxes carry a 1994 copyright stamp to the polygonal Lovecraft meets Giallo trailblazer that practically invented survival horror the year before. Is this follow-up a misunderstood classic or a holiday oddity best left gift-wrapped in DOSBOX? Underrated, overrated, fundamental, disposable? Answer, somehow all of those at once. So grab your trench coat, stoke the fireplace, and settle in for 2,500 words of rum-soaked trivia, and maybe a clearer notion of why people still claim Resident Evil birthed tank controls when Carnby was already spraining thumbs in 320 by 200. Historical context. To appreciate Alone in the Dark 2, you must rewind to 1992, when Infogrames, then better known for Asterix platformers than sanity-shredding Eldritch experiments, dropped the first Alone in the Dark onto DOS. Reviewers lost their collective marbles. Players discovered fixed cameras, garage-shaded mannequins, and a score that pulsed like a spectral clavichord. Sequels were inevitable. Producer Bruno Bonnell reportedly green-lit number 2 before the first game's 1.2 patch shipped. This time the creative reins passed to director Franck De Girolami, with returning designer Frederic Reynal stepping back into a supervisory role before departing Infogrames entirely. The music baton landed with Jean-Luc Escalant, whose jazz-inflected score would replace Reynal's original Baroque themes. Infogrames' new brief, more polygons, broader appeal. Out went cerebral gothic dread. In came pulp gangster gunplay, complete with Tommy gun muzzle-flash and festive fairy lights. Interplay handled the American release, dating it 1994, while European floppies sneaked onto shelves in late November 1993, just in time for Carnby's in-game Christmas Eve infiltration of Hell's Kitchen Mansion. Unfortunately for Infogrames, Doom's shareware episode detonated a week later, and every joystick suddenly preferred WASD run and gun to tank-turn pirouettes. European press stayed smitten. French joystick gave 92%. US magazines leaned lukewarm, praising atmosphere but groaning over fiddly controls in an era that just discovered strafing. My own copy emerged from a CompuSA bargain bin. 3 high-density floppies, a faux newsprint manual, and a registration card promising an exclusive Carnby poster that never arrived. Infogrames, the P.O. box is still open. Installed on my 486SX25, the intro FMV chugged like stop-motion clay, but thunder cracked across the stereo speakers, and I was sold long before One-Eyed Jack's silhouette materialized. Mechanics booting the game drops you on a rain-slick lawn outside Hell's Kitchen Mansion, where Private Eye Edward Carnby must rescue 8-year-old Grace Saunders from undead corsair-turned-bootlegger One-Eyed Jack. Instantly, you see the color palette pivot. Christmas lights and gangster pinstripes outshine Derketo's sepia gloom. Movement and combat, tank tango. Holiday edition controls reprise the original. Up arrow steps forward, down back pedals, left right rotate, alt enters combat stance, space attacks or fires, Cottrell opens inventory. New this time are comma sarge period sidesteps. Handy, though only when stationary, so you'll still do that infamous 3-point turn in tight hallways. Firearms headline the sequel. Early rooms cough up a Colt .45. Later you requisition a Thompson, Derringer, or enchanted flintlock. Ammo remains scarce, and zombies soak bullets. But compared to the first game's broomstick fencing, AITD 2 flirts with third-person shooter territory, fixed cameras and collision. Pre-rendered backdrops look lusher, with parallax rain and glowing lamplight, but depth bugs occasionally float Carnby above puddles. Collision sins, half ghost story, half geometry problem, fuel modern speedruns. Clip a stair rail just right and you'll warp through a locked door, bypassing half the mansion. Puzzles and inventory, Jenga Infogrames doubled down on MacGyver logic. One memorable brain teaser in a toy workshop forces you to rebuild a wooden soldier, arm it with a pint-sized musket, and aim at a portrait to trigger a hidden door. Another requires soaking a laundry line in rum, tying it to an arrow, igniting it, and firing the flaming rope into a hillside gate's hinges. The inventory spins each 3D object like a QVC turntable. Very 90s, very charming, occasionally nausea-inducing at 25 frames per second. Grace Saunders, stealth in Mary Jane's mid-game control flips to Grace, locked in a cavernous casino ship. She can't fight, instead she tosses pepper jars and wind-up toys to divert guards, culminating in a puzzle where she secretly swaps a gangster's bottle of rum with a laxative-laced decoy, sending him sprinting off screen and clearing a hallway. Tone whiplash? Certainly, but also an ingenious tension spike. One false footstep and the Tommy gun mobster perforates your 8-year-old avatar. Audio and atmosphere composer Jean-Luc Escalant trades organ dirges for big band brass that lurches into foreboding strings whenever zombies shuffle on screen. Roland MT 32 owners get crisp sax licks. Ad-lib fans settle for crunchy FM approximations. Gangster voice quips sound taped through cardboard but add pulp flavor. Difficulty. Trial and Terror Redux expect insta-kills. Step on the wrong plank. Shotgun-wielding Revenant emerges. Fade to red. Save early, save often, but mind the floppy drive. Snapshotting during camera transitions can corrupt saves on vintage hardware. Ask my teenage self. Legacy and influence. Unlike its predecessor, which enjoys universal pioneer status, Alone in the Dark 2 resides in a critical gray zone. Some historians laud its genre-bending cocktail of gangster pulp, voodoo lore, and Christmas horror. Others deem it the awkward action detour Capcom studied carefully and swerved away from when crafting 1996's Resident Evil. What everyone concedes, its gray sequence prefigured helpless protagonist chapters later seen in Metal Gear Solid 2 and Resident Evil 4, and its jazzy holiday juxtaposition inspired kitschy horror levels from Snatcher's Christmas Pack to BioShock's New Year Eve prologue. Sales numbers are murky. Infograms boasted of the original game's million-plus tally, but no reliable public figure exists for Part 2. Still, it spawned console conversions, FM Towns, Mac, and an American-exclusive 3DO port that mirrored the DOS CD build with Redbook audio, while later Saturn and PlayStation editions rebranded Jack is Back, One-Eyed Jack's Revenge, swapped in fully textured polygon models and new FMVS. Retro communities remain active, speedrunners glitch hop through the toy room in under 30 minutes, ScumVM forks test an engine re-implementation, and fans still quote Jack's snarled greeting, "Carnby, we've been expecting you." So why netch today? Because modern players primed on twin-stick fluidity bounce off tank rotations, because fixed camera depth misreads feel archaic next to RE Engine remakes, and because holiday horror about prohibition-era zombie pirates remains, shall we say, an acquired taste. Yet those willing to adapt uncover a colorful cul-de-sac in survival horror evolution, a neon noir snow globe that dares to mix rum, voodoo, and Christmas baubles. Closing paragraph plus score cue Alone in the Dark 2 this winter if your idea of festive cheer involves Tommy gun muzzle flashes reflecting off tinsel and blackjack tables. Yes, you'll wrestle tank controls and polygon elbows. Yes, you'll reload saves like a time loop detective, but you'll also storm a toy shop fortress, outwit liquor-loving corpses, and rescue a plucky 8-year-old armed only with pepper pots. Beneath the clunk lies a game bursting with pulp ambition, one that proves survival horror's formative years were wilder and weirder than tidy genre timelines suggest. Final verdict, 7.5 out of 10. Too eccentric to dismiss, too unwieldy to rank beside its smoother siblings. Alone in the Dark 2 nevertheless glows like a cracked but still blinking vintage tree light, worth plugging in whenever December nights turn long and strange.